The United States has once again demonstrated its dominance in the skies with an aircraft that seems almost too advanced to be real. This fighter, the MH-6, boasts stealth capabilities and incredible speed that have left the world stunned. But that's not all. With an unmatched reconnaissance power, MH-6 is now set to take on new roles that could redefine aerial warfare. The world is about to witness technology at its peak. What roles is this aircraft about to take on, and how would it affect the global balance of power? Join us as we unveil the mystery behind the recently revealed next-generation tiny helicopter that the U.S. has prepared for battle. Major world powers have always competed to dominate the skies with the latest military technology, investing billions of dollars into the creation of advanced weapons. However, only one country has continuously ruled in that aspect: the United States. In the past, helicopters like the UH-60 Black Hawk were famous for their speed and ability to fly high. But now stealth is the big goal, and the U.S. is also leading the way. The United States recently unveiled a technological marvel that is even more sophisticated than the UH-60 Black Hawk, the MH-6 Little Bird, also known as the Killer Egg. This small, powerful helicopter is perfect for U.S. Special Forces because it's easy to maneuver and can sneak in and out of tough areas quickly. The MH-6 combines stealth and speed, making it one of the most advanced tools in the U.S. military today. Originally modeled after the OH-6A aircraft, these tiny helicopters were later remodeled and based on the MD-500E, this time with a single 5-bladed needle. The development of the OH-6 started in 1960. Then, the U.S. Army issued Technical Specification 153 for a light observation helicopter that would perform a host of functions, including personnel transport, escort and attack missions, casualty evacuation, and observation. The race for the development began with 12 companies taking part in the competition. Hughes Aircraft Company Aircraft Division submitted the Model 369. Initially, 2 designs, those submitted by Fairchild Hiller and Bell, were selected as finalists by the Army-Navy Design Competition Board. But the Army would later on include a hand helicopter from Hugh A. Sixel. The first Model 369 prototype 4.6, February 27, N.7.he 5-inch, the model, originally designated the YH-06A under the College Designation System, was later redesignated the YO-H-6A under the Department of Defense's new Joint System in 1962. There were 5 prototypes built, each fitted with a 2-shop Allison T-63A engine, assigned to the U.S. Army at Fort Novosel, Alabama. The idea behind it was to have the aircraft compete against the AH-6 prototype aircraft submitted by Bell and Fairchild Hiller. In the end, Hughes won the competition, and the contract for production was awarded to Hughes by the Army in May. The initial order was for 714 aircraft, but that number was later increased to 1,300 aircraft, with an option to buy another 114. 70 helicopters were built in the first month. This agile, unarmed helicopter is outfitted with outboard benches designed to ferry up to 3 operators on each side, painted black for nighttime operations. This small aircraft can conduct rapid insertions and extractions of Special Operations Forces into areas its larger counterpart, the MH-60 Black Hawk, can't infiltrate. But something that would change the entire dynamics of aircraft occurred: the failure of 1980. After the April 1980 failure of Operation Eagle Claw, in which Marine pilots and Navy helicopters were used, it was determined that the U.S. Army was deficient in some areas. It lacked aircraft and crews who were trained and prepared to perform special operations missions. In a bid to quickly remedy this shortcoming, the Army began developing a special aviation task force to prepare for the next attempt to rescue the hostages, Operation Credible Sport. The stealth aircraft was deployed in some missions. The United States Army 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, also known as Night Stalkers, is a special operations force that provides helicopter aviation support for general-purpose forces and also special operations forces. Re-emphasize the multi-purpose use of the stealth aircraft. Its missions have included attack, assault, and reconnaissance, and are usually conducted at night, at high speeds, low altitudes, and on short notice. The architects of the task force identified the need for a small helicopter that could land in the most restrictive locations and could be easily transported on Air Force airlifters. For this purpose, they chose the OH-6A Scout helicopter and gave it its nickname, the Little Bird, because of its size when compared to the other aircraft in the task force, the UH-60A and the CH-47C. As a separate part of the project, armed OH-6As were being developed at Fort Novosel, Alabama. The pilots selected to fly the OH-6A helicopters came from the 229th Attack Helicopter Battalion and were sent to the Mississippi Army National Guard's Army Aviation Support Facility at Gulfport, Mississippi, for 2 weeks of qualification training in the aircraft. This meant to ensure that they were well trained in flying the aircraft. When the training was completed, C-141 aircraft were used in the transportation of the aircraft and the crews to Fort Huachuca, Arizona, for 2 weeks of mission training. The Little Bird was originally designed as a scout helicopter for Army armored units. But since the early 1980s, it has been used almost exclusively by the special operations community. It has an unrefueled range of 250 nautical miles. The AH-6 Little Bird gun, a light attack helicopter, has been tested and proven in combat. Armed with guns, Hellfire missiles, and 2.75-inch FFR, it provides armed helicopter support to both ground and air special operations. The unrefueled range of the AH-6 is 250 nautical miles. These versions were all powered by a single Allison T63 252 SHP engine. The MH-6 Little Bird made its way into popular culture with the book and movie Black Hawk Down, which portrayed MH-6 Little Birds carrying Delta Force soldiers into the overrun city of Mogadishu. The Little Birds, along with MH-60 Black Hawks from the 160th SOAR, held off attackers and supported Rangers and Delta operators when their raid was ambushed by insurgents. The OH-6S of 160th SOAR saw overt combat action for the first time in Grenada during Operation Urgent Fury on October 25, 1883, and the power of the Little Bird was put on display. On that fateful day, 6 MH-6 and 2 AH-6 were flown to the eastern Caribbean island from Pope Air Force Base in North Carolina in the bellies of 4 Air Force C-130s. In addition to the helicopter aircrews, the aircraft also carried a company of U.S. Army Rangers and a Delta Force squadron, units that were also part of the American Assault Forces. By the time the aircraft arrived over the island, other Rangers, flying separately from the U.S., had parachuted onto a nearly finished runway on the island's southwestern coast. When the airdrop Rangers secured the runway, the 4 C-130s landed and Unishows added. The 2 AH-6 set off for the capital city of St. George's to attack Fort Rupert, the permanent Grenadian military headquarters. The Little Birds found air defenses around the capital to be too formidable, and they returned to the airport within 10 minutes. The return of the Little Bird sparked some rumors, which apparently gave rise to later wrongly published speculation that an OH-6 was shot dead on D-Day. 2008 to 2014, the Ranger, Delta Force on Fort Rupert, also known as Fort George, was canceled because of the stiff anti-aircraft resistance in 2012. But that did not stop it from participating in other tasks, as it did participate in other unscripted support tasks, including transporting wounded servicemen to medical facilities on Navy ships offshore and a search and rescue mission to a Black Hawk helicopter crash site. None of these aircraft were listed in the public inventory of the U.S. military at the time. Their existence was kept a secret from the world and the general public. The existence of the Secret Aviation Unit became widely known in the aftermath of the invasion, as OH-6 helicopters were photographed and filmed in action by civilian onlookers. The CIA also deployed 2 highly modified Hughes 500D helicopters to nearby Barbados in advance of the 20-minute aircraft offered to the Pena's invasion commanders by the CIA for clandestine reconnaissance purposes. 40-50 were not used by the military over Grenada during Urgent Fury. MH-6 were based in Palmarola Air Base, Honduras, and flew missions into Nicaragua. The unit members wore civilian clothes, flew by night, and were intended to destroy their aircraft if they were forced down. Later versions are based on the successful Boeing MD-500 and MD-530 series helicopters. The latest versions of these aircraft, the AH-Secantor and MH-6J insertion and extraction transport based on the MD-530F, feature a more powerful engine and improved avionics. including an embedded GPS inertial navigation system and forward-looking infrared. The AH-6J can be armed with two 7-tube, 2.75-inch rocket launchers and two 7.2mm 134 miniguns. The Little Bird can also be armed with .50 cal machine guns, Mk-1940 MMM grenade machine guns, Hellfire missiles, and air-to-air Stinger missiles. On July 24, 1987, a Kuwaiti oil tanker, reflagged as Bridgerton and escorted by U.S. Navy warships, struck a mine in the Persian Gulf. This quickly made it apparent that they would be needing more than escort ships to guard merchant ships. The MH-6 would be called into action once again. The U.S. military deployed the MH-6 and AH-6 aircraft from the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, SOAR, to provide surveillance and patrols in cooperation with other U.S. Special Operations units in Operation Prime Chance. To escort the merchant ships, two MH-6 and four AH-6 aircraft were initially deployed and designated as Detachment 160 Aviation Group. The MH-6 aircraft went ahead and carried forward-looking infrared and a videotape system, which gave them excellent ability to detect and identify targets. Then direct the armed AH-6. The AH-6 helicopters were armed with 7.62 miniguns and 2.75-inch rockets. Initially, the aircraft patrolled in teams called Seabat that waited for U.S. Navy SH-2s to direct them to the targets. Later, to preserve the aircraft and crews from fatigue and wear, the Seabat teams remained on the ship's deck until a contact was identified. At 10 midnight on September 21, 1987, the captain of USS Jarrett launched a Seabat team, which included an MH-6 and two AH-6, to check out reports of Iranian mine-laying. The team found Iran Ager, an amphibious landing ship equipped with mine-laying racks. The MH-6 confirmed that Iran Ager was laying mines. The AH-6 opened fire, causing the crew to abandon ship. And just when people thought the MH-6 couldn't get any better, it does. Just when people thought there couldn't possibly be more capabilities to bolt onto a massively versatile platform as compact and agile as the MH-6 Little Bird, U.S. Special Operations Command brought one out of the hat. While we've seen machine guns aboard Little Bird's attack variant, the AH-6, the addition of designated mounts atop the MH-6 personnel planks ensures that the helicopter can still pack a punch while carrying special operators to and from hard-to-access places. During 22's Special Operations Forces Industry Conference SOFIC Capability Demonstration, the MH-6 machine gun mount made what could be its first clear and official debut above industry and community onlookers. Throughout the demo, the 160th Special Operations Air Regiment, SOAR, better known as the Night Stalkers, put what has been lovingly nicknamed the Killer Egg into action over Tampa Bay. The incredible amount of maneuverability that these pint-sized helos offer makes them a perfect fit for the Night Stalkers and their insertion and extraction-heavy special ops exercises and missions. On top of the MH-6 typical mission of inserting and extracting special ops assault teams, Little Birds have also been known to transport sniper teams from time to time. Therefore, having the opportunity to mount a fixed machine gun to the personnel plank could allow them the chance to provide additional fire support, all within a relatively petite package. The U.S. Special Operations Command announced that the organization will continue to deeply upgrade the type for years to come. But that's not all. The Army's surprise decision earlier this year to cancel the Future Attack Reconnaissance Aircraft FARA program has breathed new life into Boeing's MH-6 Little Bird and for special operators, with one Special Operations Command SOCOM official describing an ongoing enhancement as tantamount to a resurrection. The Block 3 upgrade in process for the Little Bird designates the chopper as the MH-6R. But following the end of FARA, R is not a Romeo, said Stephen Smith, SOCOM's Rotary Wing Program Executive Officer, at the Soft Week conference here in Tampa in 24. It's the future for Little Bird. SOCOM had previously planned for FARA to take the role of the AH-6, but the program's cancellation changed their equation. Smith explained the R upgrade effort incorporates a new fuselage that boosts the Little Bird's design limit to 5,000 pounds. The overhaul further includes new equipment like a smaller mission computer and interfaces for next-gen communications. Smith said the overarching effort should carry on through the 21 to 23-2 timeframe. According to Smith, that is about a 15-year life that they have predicted on that fuselage. I think that gives us a little bit of time to allow the Army to figure out what it's going to do for its scout requirement. So FARA has been canceled, but the requirement itself to have something that can see, sense, and fix adversaries over the horizon still exists. And so whether that's going to be unmanned systems or some sort of manned-unmanned teaming, there will be time to figure that out. And then incremental changes will be made along the way. The FARA cancellation isn't the only aviation fallout from the Army's rotorcraft shakeup. Smith said SOCOM is also feeling the effects of the Army's decision to delay production of the Improved Turbine Engine Program, ITEP. The command was expecting to incorporate ITEP for its specialized MH-60M Black Hawk helicopters made by Lockheed Martin subsidiary Sikorsky. Even though platforms like the Black Hawk may now have to stick around until the 2050 or longer, Smith still emphasized the value of the Army's larger Future Vertical Lift (FVL) effort that encompasses other elements, like the in-development Future Long-Range Assault Aircraft. Specifically, Smith described the value of the FVL ecosystem, which, according to him, SOCOM was counting on for new improvements like a modular open system architecture that can help foster goals like a common Army helicopter cockpit. That feature is expected for future aircraft. And though SOCOM would like it for legacy platforms, Command is not yet sure how that would work. The Command has many ambitions, but a tight budget limits what's realistic. One thing is certain, SOCOM cannot do this alone. A look at the percentage of the SOCOM budget compared to the overall national defense budget shows it is quite small. So investment is needed in the right technologies to field fully operational capabilities. Another aircraft that is worth touching on is also the AH-6. The Boeing AH-6 is a series of light helicopter gunships modeled after the MH-6 Little Bird and MD-500 family. The unmanned Little Bird demonstrator, which Boeing developed from a civilian MD-534F, first flew on September 8, 2004. The aircraft also made its first autonomous flight on October 16, 2004. In April 2006, Boeing used the ULB to demonstrate the ability of another helicopter, in this case an AH-64 Apache, to remotely control the ULB's weapons payload as a part of Boeing's Airborne Manned and Unmanned System Technology Demonstration Program. For the first test, the Apache Longbow was on the ground while the ULB was airborne several miles away, and Hellfire missiles were fired from the ULB by a tester sitting at the co-pilot station in the Apache. Both aircraft are equipped with tactical common data link equipment and technologies manufactured by L3 Communications. The ULB demonstrator first flew in unmanned mode on June 30, 2006, from the United States Army's Yuma Proving Ground, flying a pre-programmed 20-minute armed intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance mission around the facility. All former flights during the 50-hour engineering development phase had a safety pilot on board, although the aircraft was flown on the ground. With the MH-6, one thing is certain: improvements will only continue to be made. This aircraft that focuses on stealth, speed, and agility is the epitome of not only war, but of the creative genius of the human mind. The ability of the human mind to conceive of an aircraft that is not only built for infiltration, but now has the ability to unleash some of the deadliest attacks is nothing short of fascinating. The sky will never be the same again. The US has once again made that certain. What is left to be seen is how the other countries would react to being left behind once again by the world's foremost superpower. Would we witness a potential arms race? Or have the US conquered the sky again, as they did in times past? It remains to be seen. Thanks for watching. While you are still here, click on the link appearing on your screen to check out another of our videos. See you there.